Just looking back, obviously very disappointed in in the outcome of that game. I felt we played good enough to win the game. Again, too many critical errors. Particularly the turnover on the kickoff return. Which is basically giving them 7 points, and that's is very, very frustrating. Can't stand to lose, hate to lose. I know everybody, our fans, hate it as well, obviously, and are disappointed about it. And this program's had such great tradition and won a ton of games over the years, and are used to winning. And I hate it for our fans that come out, support us, and fill that stadium, and they're loud and into it, and that are great. They're great for our players and our staff and everybody. But that's what I'm very disappointed about. And we got to continue to work. We got to continue to get better. I think when you think about making this jump from the American and to the Big 12, you knew there was going to be some transition parts of it that we probably wouldn't like. But the bad thing about it is, the one that's frustrating, that hurts me so much, is the fact that there's at least 3 of these games we should have won, and we didn't. Where we shoot ourselves in the foot, we make too many mistakes, and I think when you do lose that way, it's a lot worse. And but you think about, we've outgained 6 out of the 7 opponents that we played. We've outrushed 5 out of 7. We rushed for 250 yards over twice and lost both of those games. I mean, it's crazy. We're sitting here, we're stopping the run, and we're running the football at a high level. Usually that translates into a lot of wins. Now, so what's the outlier? What's the reason behind it? Now, I'll look at 2 things, and number one is the turnover margin. And I think we're over 120 is somewhere in that range in the country in turnover margin. You're not going to win that way. And the other thing is, scoring points in the red. And I think a couple of times this past week we went forward on 4th down. One was 4th and 1, and had a great play dialed up, and we didn't execute. And the other one was 4th and 4. You could argue we should have kicked at that point. Down 12. But we didn't. We went for it, and we got to execute and make those plays. So the red zone scoring and then turnover margin. Other than that, I think we've played good enough really to win at least 3 of these games, and now you're sitting there at 5-2 instead of 2-5. So, but it's a fine line, and you got to do better. We got to do better as coaches. We got to do a much better job. As coaches, particularly when you lose these close games, there's something that coaches can do to help those games and get over the hump. There's no question about it. But I know this: we're not quitters. We're not going to give up. We're not going to give in. We're going to keep fighting. I know our players are. I was very proud of their resilience on Saturday. We were down 15 in the 4th quarter. They didn't blink. They continued to play. It's unlike the week before, so that's growth of a team to keep fighting and keep playing and give ourselves a chance to win. And we're down 3 there in the last drive and had a chance to go and didn't get it done. But that is the encouraging part with the energy that we had about that. And so we're going to look forward now to Oklahoma State. We're going to carry that energy that we had into this game, which is an outstanding football team. Oklahoma State's 5-2. Have won 3 straight. They've got a lot of confidence right now. They're rolling, and I think the switch they made I think it was around the 3rd game or 4th game. They kind of decided what they were going to do on offense. Early in the year, they were playing 3 quarterbacks, and now they decided on the 1 quarterback, and they decided to hand the ball to 0. And that kid has been tremendous the last 3 games. Ollie Gordon's his name. Last week rushed for 282 yards and 4 touchdowns. 145 of those yards came in the 4th quarter, when the game was still about a tied ball game. He had 3 touchdowns and 145 yards, and they're just leaning on him, giving him the ball, and he's producing. Defensively, they're very aggressive. They base out of a 3-down front, similar to an Iowa State type defense where you got 5 DBs on the field, and they can run. This defense is an explosive defense. Number 4 is their middle linebacker. He leads the Big 12 in tackles per game, and he's not very big, 215 pounds, what they list him as, but he can really, really run. I think the one thing that stands out about their defense is their speed. He's got 71 total tackles and 4 sacks, one of the top linebackers in this league. And then I'm looking at their kicker. He's 17 for 21 this year. He's a really good field goal kicker. We just played one. Baylor's guy, I think, had a career day out there last week. So, going to Oklahoma State, I've never been there. I've heard loud environment. I think it's homecoming this weekend, so they'll be added in that regard. It's a night game, so all those things we have to prepare this week for a hostile environment, and get our guys ready to go. Questions?
When you look at fixing the mistakes that have kind of been the margin, how difficult is it? Because it feels like you plug one gap and then another one springs
It's very difficult. It's not just one aspect, right? At times it's all three phases, and I think that's the frustrating part, and you fix this, or you fix one aspect of special teams and the other special team unit screws us, with a bad play. I think offensively, there have been times where I feel like it's been on third or fourth downs when we've made our mistakes, and those are the big play downs where you have to make them. Defensively, giving up the big pass plays. I think as you look throughout the season, that's been our nemesis really. We've done a lot of different things to try to fix that. We still haven't got that done yet, and we got to continue to try to work on that. But yeah, we're gonna keep fighting and keep finding ways, or try to find ways that will correct those mistakes.
I don't like it when people insinuate I'm not doing a good job or I'm failing or whatever. This is not your first rodeo. How do you handle this personally?
Well, it's difficult. I think I don't know anybody that likes getting negative things said about them, and but the fact of the matter is we've lost these games, and it comes back to me, and so I take ownership of that. I've got to do a better job, and it trickles all the way down through our players. So all our staff, all the way through our players, everybody's got to take responsibility and load for it. But ultimately, it's me. And I've been here before. I didn't like it back then. I don't like it now. But it's something you got to fight through and continue to get through on the other side. And as you look back and you think about things that why did they happen before, you can try to prevent things from happening again. And you're dealt with different circumstances a lot of different times as well. And so, we came into this situation, we knew what we were coming into. We knew we were going to a new conference in the Big 12 conference. We knew we only had, I think, 6 returning starters out of the 22. That's not a whole lot. Put that in perspective. When I left App State, we had 18 returning starters coming back on a team when we left. Now we're in this new era where guys can leave. We had players drafted off last year's team, 3 players drafted, and another one that made, as a starter as a free agent, and then, several guys got in the portal and left. So we knew it was going to kind of be, we got a lot of new pieces coming in, and you're playing in a new conference. So we knew it was going to be challenges. But again, the frustrating part is that we're good enough to win at least 3 of those, I feel like, and we didn't get it done. And that is the part that keeps me up at night, to know that we can do better and we can win those games. And so we get these opportunities in the future, hopefully, that we'll win.
Keegan?
You mentioned the 4th and 1 in the red zone with the fumble after the game, saying that surprised you because you had executed in practice and that had never happened in practice. Do you think your guys could be seeing that home crowd and like that support as maybe pressure other than the support it's supposed to be, since they've kind of been unproven throughout the season?
That's a good question. I hope not. I hope it's because I want our guys to play fearless. When you're out there, you play fearlessly when you're playing. You can't play thinking, oh man, I hope I don't make a mistake. Well, you can't cut loose and play that way. And I think at times this year I've seen some guys do things on game day that they don't do during the week. Some would say maybe the moment's too big and that kind of thing. Well, that has happened a few times this year. I can't put a finger on it. I want our guys to play fearlessly. I want them to coach fearlessly as well, because I think when you cut loose that way, man, you can be as good as your potential will allow you to be. When you are holding back for some reason of fear of failure, then you're not going to be. And so, I don't know if that was the case on the 4th and 1. I don't think it was. I think it was just a mistake and not holding the ball tight. But it's part of those things where you cut loose and you play. We've been running that play. I've been running that play for 10 years. It's a great play. It's hard to defend. We see it every Saturday. You go turn college football on, you see a lot of those plays happen. So, and guys make them, and our guys have made them. And so that's frustrating when we don't. And it's the one time we need to make it. When it's because that may be the only time that we get that opportunity, that chance, and you have to make it during that play. So that is a frustrating part. But all you can do is go back and continue to work on it and continue to practice and run those plays in those pressure situations, We're going on good against our defense. We're trying to simulate that. We execute in practice, and then sometimes in the game we haven't.
Anthony and Ryan.
You mentioned the reputation Oklahoma State has on the road. Any Big 12 atmosphere is going to be a bit raucous, but with the homecoming night game, as you mentioned, you've never been there, but you've heard about it. How do you replicate that in practice? You mentioned you have to prepare for hostility. How do you replicate that?
Well, you're not totally going to be able to replicate it. There's no way, and also, in the heat of the moment when the lights are on, the TV cameras are on, and everybody's screaming, you're not going to be able to replicate that. The thing that we can do is, we'll get crowd noise going. We'll try to have, create that where you can't hear the communication piece. That's the thing that you're going to try to replicate, but you really are not going to be able to. Our guys have, we went to Pitt, I think earlier in the year, it was loud, the student section was really loud, and I think our guys performed, very well in that environment. So, like to think we'll go in there and perform in this environment, and that will not be an issue.
Ryan and Neil.
In terms of offensive identity, Miles and Corey really had to go in this past week. Is that something you lean on going forward, knowing some of the struggles Emory has had in the past game?
Yeah, and we talked about it last week. We wanted to be able to lean on our running backs in that game, and we did. And those guys, they responded. Both guys getting over 100 yards. It was great to see. Mentioned this in the post game. Miles had the big touchdown run. I think it was 3rd and 3. Broke out. It was a long run, our longest rushing touchdown this year, which is awesome. We got to get more of that from our running backs, and it does. It takes pressure off the offense. It takes pressure off really everybody, quite honestly, in an offensive system. If you can turn and hand the ball off, and those guys can go make plays. Our offensive line did a really nice job of blocking up front, and our tight ends on Saturday, and those guys did a good job of hitting the hole and making them pay. Anytime you can get 2 backs over 100 yards, it's a good day. And then that hopefully opens up the passing game, and that we're able to hit. We were able to hit Xavier. I think when he had 8 catches, 2 touchdowns, is a good game for him, coming off a game where he didn't have any catches. So we made an effort to get Xavier the ball and an effort to get the running backs the ball, and it did a good job offensively with that.
Neil.
Following the game on Saturday, you mentioned the terms of energy. Jawan and Evan mentioned the Bearcat Council, a meeting they hold on Sundays. Could you just kind of talk about how that all came about and what that means to this team during this tough time?
Yeah, I think we talked about as a staff this summer. We felt we wanted to have a council that that the players can express things that they need, that they like to see within our team, and also promote leadership within the team. I think it's a good thing to have, because it's their team. It's our players' team, and I want them to have a voice, and it's a way for them to communicate. And we write down things that they say and things that we can implement in our game, game plan and game week, really, quite honestly. And those guys, and they show leadership in that regard. And I think that's a good thing. It's particularly when you're facing adversity like we are now, and they're coming and rising up, saying great things, and saying, continue to stay tight, as a team, continue to pull for each other. And we saw that on Saturday, and that energy, and that those guys were pulling for each other on Saturday, the best we've done all year, in my opinion. You just feel that from the sideline, and that's a great job by our leaders of our team.
Scott and Chad.
Emory played against these guys last year. You guys struggled a little bit against the 3-3-5 of Iowa State, but assumably that would help him, having seen that before? Yeah,
I would hope so. That would help him, and particularly being in that environment. We think about playing in that stadium. It's a really tight sideline in that stadium. The stadium, it's right on top of you. Maybe as tight a sidelines I've seen. As you're watching the film, there's zero room there, and the fans are right on top of you, so it could be intimidating. But having played there, hopefully, it won't faze him. He's played in the SEC, he's played in some big stadiums. I don't think it'll faze him. But as a football team, we have to know about that environment when you get in there. But then you got to tune out all that. You got to tune out all the things that are going on outside of the field and in between the white lines, and really focus on your job and what you have to do against the opponent.
Is there anything specific they did to get their rushing offense going over the past 3 weeks to change anything?
I think philosophy, really. They were searching early in the year for an offensive identity and what they wanted to do offensively, and this is coming from Coach Gundy. And then when they really solidified on what they wanted to do offensively in their running scheme, it benefited their running back, because he feels very comfortable in what they're doing. I think they're keeping it more simple and more repetitive in the same plays that they're running. and then he gets a chance to really see it, and he is seeing it. And then here's the thing that's unique about this back. I mean, he's a big back, 6'1", 211. He looks bigger on film, but he's got some speed. Like this guy, when he breaks out and gets to the second level, you see DBs just falling to the ground, and him hitting the hot sideline and going to the house. I mean, he's got 8 rushing touchdowns. I mean, he is a talented running back. That when he gets to the second level, he can take it the distance. So you have to be able to try to hem him up and not let him get loose out in the secondary, because the teams he's played in the last few weeks, I mean, they haven't tackled him. And he mentioned this last week in the fourth quarter when it was a tight ball game, and you knew that they were going to run the football. Oklahoma State was, and West Virginia couldn't stop him. When he had 145 yards and 3 touchdowns, it really kind of blew the game open there in the fourth quarter.
Ryan.
Jonathan Thompson has had a few good games back to back. Can you just talk about his play and what went into that decision to insert him into the starting lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, Dorian was banged up this past week, and so was kind of nursing an injury. And JT got more opportunity at practice and really got probably majority of the practice reps this past week. I do think he's gotten better and better and better each and every week, and he's a guy that's starting to play fast, to pull his trigger, not to be tentative at the linebacker position, and then for him to get this opportunity, and he made the most of it. I thought he went out and played a really, really good game and was downhill, was running sideline to sideline. He's a good young player for us, and we need that depth to be able to put in there, because he really can play both inside positions there. And then Dorian got to play a little bit in the game, but it was good to see JT come in and get that start and make some plays. Not only get the start, but actually make plays. I think we had 8 tackles maybe in the game, so I thought he played well, and he'll continue to play well just because he does practice habits. I mean, he really goes hard every day at practice.
Chad and Scott.
How do you handle a situation like Braden Smith, who has been a big play guy on offense, but on special teams he's made 2 critical mistakes?
Critical mistakes, and I never would have guessed that and thought that. That guy's played more ball than anybody on our team possibly. I mean, he's been in a lot of situations, not only as a receiver, but also as a punt returner, kick returner, played on a bunch of special teams, and critical mistakes, in the BYU game and now in this game, and catastrophic mistakes because they're giving up touchdowns, really, and so I think Braden is a guy who has a lot of pride. It tears him up inside, and but it's something that we got to certainly look and see. All right, does somebody else give us a better option there? But I do think Braden. We do have confidence in Braden. I'm hoping it's a fluke. That we won't see that again, and but I do think he's a good player and he cares. So hopefully that's just some unfortunate errors that won't happen again.
How do you prepare for Gordon in practice, and who is that person?
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably be several people, because he's very unique, and I mentioned his size, but also his speed. So, we're probably going to be 2 or 3 different guys that we'll put down there. Some speed guys, Manny, Covey, be one that can show you something, some juice that when he breaks outside, he can take the distance with it. I think a lot of it comes up front, with their blocking scheme and our guys fitting right and really being where we're supposed to be. He does a good job if somebody's out of position where he's got good vision to be able to, cut back and hit that open lane. We have to have our guys where they're supposed to be. Now, the good news is our guys up front have done a good job in the running game so far this year. But this will be our biggest test to be able to stop the run this week. I feel like a lot of the teams we've played, they have not run it consistently as good as Oklahoma State has this week. So this will be our biggest test, and it really is going to start up front. And having said that, their offensive line is good. Their offensive line has got a lot of older players on it, a lot of seniors up front, and as I'm looking here, seniors, juniors, senior, 4 seniors that start up front, and I think, and then for them, they've been leaning on those guys and letting that running back, pick and choose. So we got to do a great job with our defensive line and our linebackers filling those gaps.
Keegan.
You mentioned the returners. Is it your plan right now to have Braden and Xavier back there for Oklahoma State? And if not, who else could?
We'll see. I think we're going to get Ryan back this week. He's a guy that's been back there in return games. We got great confidence in him. We've missed him What's he missed the last 3 or 4 games, maybe? You know, I think Oklahoma was the last time he played. So he practiced Sunday, so hopefully he'll be back this week. So I think he may be in the mix. Braden will certainly be in the mix. Xavier will be in the mix. Xavier had a nice return Saturday. You know, so I think, but I do think Ryan will be a guy that will also get back there. DJ Taylor will be another guy who has done that in the past that we'll get a look at as well this week. So then we'll see what we need to do on Saturday.
Final question, Chad.
When looking at guys on the edge, it feels like when Justin Watley is in, he's been able to get pressure on the quarterback. Is he potentially earning a little bit more of a look there?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's, you know, Coach Stu rotates those guys in up front, keeps them all fresh, and then, you know, you're looking to see, all right, who's the guys making the plays, you know, and if Watley certainly has, I'm like you, I've noticed where he's come out and made some plays, getting in the backfield, and you know, certainly if he's able to do that, then you want to play him a little bit more. You know, at the same time, we will rotate and continue to get those guys fresh and keep them in there. But Watley is a guy that plays with the last few weeks has played with a lot of good energy and been in the backfield some. And you know, you couple that with some of our other guys and Briggs and Corley. I think those guys have been playing at a consistent level as well. You know, and hopefully they'll get in the backfield and keep this running back from breaking through to the second level, because that'll be key.
All right,
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.